Hark!
Is that angels I hear?
No, it's
Definitely
fish, so it's
not.
not.
yourself in life alone, for that's how you'll really know who you are or what you'll do. Those questions seem so far. Go up above, beyond the peak, find what you may find. For the black and gold, what adventure holds, you feel so inclined to rocky heights. We climb under pines, peaks like we shine. We are to see. Uniquely are the people here, independently. We extend arms so openly to embrace globally. Though few we are, we'll fight you hard, turn with victory, with tenacity and ferocity. Tigers soon you'll see. Rocky heights we climb under pines, peaks like we shine. We are CC, we are CC.
Will you join with me in an attitude of prayer or meditation? O love that will not let us go, we rest on the precipice of a future we can only imagine. We gather this morning to mark not an end, but rather a beginning. Now is when theory becomes practice. Now is when exams are exchanged for action. Let us still our hearts and minds in this moment so that we are present with all of our emotions: relief, gratitude, trepidation, joy. Be with us this morning as we gather to acknowledge the hard work and dedication of these students as they prepare to graduate and take their place in the larger world. As we honor their achievement, may we all be inspired by them to seek out our own new beginnings as we rest on the precipice of our own futures that we can only begin to imagine. In your many names and in the name of all that is holy we pray. Amen.
Please be seated. Good morning. What a day. I'm Jill Tiefenthaler, and it's my great honor to serve as Colorado College's 13th president. Thank you. On behalf of our dedicated faculty, staff, and trustees, I welcome you to our 143rd commencement ceremony. Welcome, proud parents, grandparents, brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, and friends of our graduates. You've come from across the state, across the country, and across the globe. From Pueblo to Durango to Fort Collins, New Jersey to Texas to Oregon, China to Panama to Nepal. You've all supported our graduates over the past 4 years, and this day wouldn't be complete without you. Graduates, let's give your parents and family members a round of applause. And welcome and congratulations to our commencement speaker and honorary degree recipients. And most importantly, welcome and congratulations to the Colorado College class of 2017. Can you believe it? It's finally here, your commencement day. Nearly 4 years ago, on a beautiful afternoon in August in Shove Chapel, I welcomed you to CC. It seems like just yesterday. I vividly remember your sense of excitement, a palpable energy, much like you feel today. In my remarks, I encouraged you to push yourselves, to take risks, to take full advantage of the opportunities that CC had to offer you. And I also challenged you to do your part to make this great place even better. Class of 2017, you've done all that and more. You've embraced the opportunity of Colorado College and made the most of your time here. You've followed rivers and stood under the stars at Baca and throughout the Southwest. You've studied literature and photography, rocks, culture, and energy across the country and around the globe. You've taken classes outside your comfort zone, formed strong bonds with faculty members, and undertaking amazing adventures through Keller Venture Grants, internships, and Rick Kellogg expeditions. You've committed to developing professional skills, tried your hands at creating new businesses, and joined, led, and started clubs and organizations. And you pushed yourselves. You worked hard. Through 32 blocks, you learned to focus, to immerse yourselves in a single subject, instilling within yourselves the importance of being present as a means of solving complicated problems. You tried new things, took on disciplines and projects outside your comfort zones. Sometimes you were wildly successful, and sometimes you failed. You sought help from dedicated faculty and staff mentors, and they encouraged you to recognize and take responsibility for your mistakes, and you tried again. You worked on group projects, learning what it means to collaborate, when to push your point of view, and when to compromise. You hold yourself up in quiet Carol's and Gates' common room to work through difficult passages, struggle with challenging problem sets, and finish your senior theses. Your hard work and engagement have paid off. You're ready for your next adventure. At Colorado College, we're fortunate to attract amazing young people from around the globe. young people who are creative, independent, thoughtful, and passionate. Then over 4 years here, we provide you with the opportunities inside and outside the classroom to develop the knowledge, skills, and character to help you to become lifelong leaders, imaginative thinkers, and inspired learners. The liberal arts education that you received at CC is the best preparation for work and life. The world in which you will live and lead requires an understanding of how to navigate in diverse environments, understand and respect different cultures, and see things from various perspectives. The notion that the future is uncertain brings home the importance of a nimble mind, comfort with ambiguity, and being an accomplished and empathetic communicator, all skills that you've honed at Colorado College. Your CC education has also helped you to develop valuable qualities that will apply throughout your lives: resilience, focus, humility, tenacity, and creativity. Through co-curricular activities and half-block classes, you've embraced opportunities to build skills that complement your liberal education and will help you transition to the next chapter of your life. Class of 2017, you've made much of your time here, but you've also enriched the college. Politics, civil discourse, and social justice have been important to you. During the presidential election in the fall, you were engaged. You got out the vote and displayed respect and appreciation for differing viewpoints during the Sonderman Presidential Symposium, asking thoughtful questions of the variety of speakers who came to campus. And you put your ideas into action, forming the Refugee Alliance and raising awareness about the realities of the American prison system. You got your hands dirty during Creek Week and CC's Day of Service. As the college embarked on a new partnership with the Fine Arts Center, you found new ways to reach into the community, taking students from local elementary schools into the museum to experience the power of art firsthand, and dancing alongside young people with traumatic brain injuries. You invited a variety of speakers to campus who shared their expertise on a diverse spectrum of topics. You kicked off the Journalist in Residence program with today's commencement speaker, who writes so beautifully about our special place in this region. You took a more thoughtful look at the Colorado ski industry. You learned about water in the West. You explored Cheyenne Canyon. You studied the arts and artifacts of the indigenous people who were here thousands of years before the first Europeans stepped foot in Colorado. You embarked on rigorous field study, and you were studied by the college's first pedagogy scholar, who examined the impact of learning on the block plan. And you dived more deeply into subjects than you ever thought possible. Through summer spent doing research with faculty members, some of you even co-authoring articles in academic journals. You prepared for your careers with the first ever Rising Senior Symposium. You also led the way on issues of sustainability by helping bike share to thrive. You planted trees, which helped garner national attention for the college. And you got on the roof of Hanan Ice Rink to make it green. And you gave back financially, with more than 4% of you participating in your senior class gift. But most importantly, you touched each other's lives. Your class helped to launch our QuestBridge partnership in the Butler Center. You initiated important conversations about what it really means to be an inclusive community. You advocated for respectful, intimate relationships and launched a new organization, START, to help fellow students navigate the Title IX sexual assault process. You rooted for the Tigers, who won 5 conference championships and 12 individual conference titles during your 4 years, and you sent 12 teams to the NCAA tournament play. You played together on intramural and club sport teams. You were national contenders in ultimate frisbee, rugby, and club cycling. You admired your friends' debate and mock trial accomplishments and helped to host this year's regional mock trial competition. You cheered for teams in the Big Idea, sending 1 team to the Clinton Global Initiative. You were proud of your classmates who won national awards, including the Journalism Mark of Excellence, Fulbrights, and an NCAA postgraduate scholarship, as well as fellowships from Gaither, Gilman, Humanity in Action, Princeton in Asia, Princeton in Africa, and the Japan Exchange and Teaching Program. You were impressed by each other's senior theses, senior recitals, and senior art shows. You saw some of these works installed at the Fine Arts Center. You applauded your friends who performed in Sam Shepard's plays, Dead Man's Cell Phone, Mobility's Yellowface, and Relations. And just when you needed it most, Twit's improvisational comedy broke the tension. You showed off your talents at the fashion show and dance workshop. You danced together at Llama and again on Autry Field when your bands battled. You bonded around music of all kinds. Your class founded the B-Side Collective, a new space for CC student musicians. You also participated in the CC Orchestra, concert band, and bluegrass ensemble. With your voices, Back Row, Element, and Room 46 continued to wow audience. And you curated your favorite tunes as DJs with the sounds of CC. Class of 2017, you were awesome. And while excitement overwhelmed the mood in Shove Chapel when you first assembled as a class back in 2013, there was also some trepidation. You felt a little lonely at that time in that sea of other first-year students. You missed the comfort of your hometown relationships. You wondered who would be your friends and if you were ready for this new challenge. Today, you may feel some similar emotions. While it's clear that you are bubbling with excitement and anticipation for your futures, it's still a little hard to go. You're sad to leave your friends. College friendships are unique. It's unlikely that you will ever again form such strong bonds because only in college do you live, learn, work, and play with the same people. You're sad to leave your mentors. They pushed and challenged you in the classroom, on the playing field, and in your campus leadership roles. And they also guided you and challenged you. I imagine it's hard to leave this special place with the beauty and opportunity of Colorado and our beloved Peak, but also this special place of learning where you were immersed in the life of the mind with limited distraction. It's okay that it's difficult to pack the car and go, because that means that good things happen for you at Colorado College. Your class motto, there is no passion to be found in playing small, in settling for a life that is less than the one you're capable of living. A quote from Nelson Mandela inspires you to take your next steps. When I look out at you, class of 2017, I'm optimistic about the future. The world needs you. With great anticipation, I look forward to seeing how each of you put your CC education to work. You're a talented, compassionate, and courageous bunch, and I'm confident that you will make us proud. You will treasure this day and the memories of your time here for the rest of your life. As CC's president, I hope that the pride you feel as you walk across the stage today is rivaled only by the fondness with which you remember this place and the relationships you forged. As you continue to learn and to change, reflect on the times when you stumbled and even failed. Recall how caring faculty and staff and classmates pushed you in the right direction and stretched your imagination and spirit. Keep in touch with each other and your mentors, and remember that CC will always welcome you home. Congratulations, class of 2017. I look forward to celebrating with you and your families following the ceremony. Now it is my pleasure to invite Eben Moulton, Chair of the Colorado College Board of Trustees and alumnus of the class of 1968, to extend greetings on behalf of the board.
Thank you, Jill. Good morning. I am Eben Moulton, Chair of the Board of Colorado College, and it is my honor on behalf of the trustees, many of whom are here, to congratulate you on your graduation, the Colorado College class of 2017. As always, the distinctive beauty of Pikes Peak frames this ceremony and wonderfully symbolizes both the heights and breadths of your successes. Some of you will enter the world's great professional and graduate schools and have received nationally recognized scholarships. Others of you are headed to the mountains or to your hometown to consider your next steps. All of you have engaged in a unique educational experience from which to build careers and continue a life of personal learning. Your college has thrived during your last 4 years. Students now seek admission to Colorado College from around the world. The campus will soon complete a renovated library, a new residence hall, and integrate a gem of a fine arts center. Colorado College will continue to thrive as it realizes on the goals of its strategic plans. Importantly, Colorado College has always thrived. What Colorado College continues to do so well was clearly stated by the then president of Boston University in his concluding remarks in his commencement address to the Colorado College class of 1978. Quote, "The graduates of this college have been exposed as few graduates of few colleges have been to the tradition of great teaching. This is a campus that has cherished great teaching for many years. This is a campus that has not looked to the Northeast or to the far West to find out what a college should do, but has looked to itself. It has produced a tradition of great teaching, and it has created a model for attention, observation, and emulation all over this country. And the teachers of this college are the true teachers of these graduates. They have done what they could to make these graduates at home in the world. These graduates will not go out into the real world, for they have been in the real world of ideas for the last 4 years. It is this great tradition of great teachers that is carried on at this college, from which all graduates can take pride on this occasion." End quote. Indeed, in 2017, as in 1978, Colorado College cherishes great teaching and learning. Today you graduate, and this college looks to you. Accept this challenge, a challenge you have already begun, a challenge which was framed by the president of the National Endowment of the Humanities and a Colorado College graduate in his commencement address to the Colorado College class of 2015. Quote, "There is one form of service that I can confidently say is obligatory of each and every one of you. This is service to alma mater. That obligation stems from the fact that everything you see around us and everything we did when we were here was provided by others who went before us. The buildings we learned and played in, the classrooms and labs in which we studied, the scholarships that helped many of us attend, all these things were gifts, and it's now your turn to give back. There are many ways to give back to the college that has nurtured you. You can volunteer in admissions or in alumni programs. As your working lives develop, you can help students here by giving them the benefit of your experience. I expect that someday some of you will be called upon to serve as members of the Board of Trustees. And when the time is right and you are able, I hope and trust you will share your financial resources with those who follow." End quote. Enjoy your special moment and this ceremony. Again, congratulations to each of you, the Colorado College class of 2017.
Good morning. Happy commencement. My name is Liz Forster, and happy graduation. First, I would like to thank my peers, the senior class committee, Dean Edmonds, and President Tiefenthaler for nominating me to introduce today's commencement speaker. I'd also like to congratulate my friends and peers for graduating today. It's been a wonderful roller coaster of 4 years with all of you. With that, it is my honor to introduce today's commencement speaker, Hampton Sides. For the past 3 years, Hampton has been the inaugural journalist in the new Journalist in Residence program. During his time, he has invited exceptional journalists like Mark Bryant, John Krakauer, Helen Thorpe, Mike Paternity, and Peter Breslow, among others, to teach journalism classes and give all-college lectures. In addition to his role as journalist in residence at Colorado College, Hampton is best known for his historical nonfiction, including best-selling histories Ghost Soldiers, Blood and Thunder, and most recently, In the Kingdom of Ice. He has also worked as editor-at-large for Outside Magazine and is a frequent contributor to National Geographic, among other magazines. His captivating feature writings have earned him 2 nominations for National Magazine Awards. I first met Hampton during an interview my sophomore year for a story that I wrote as a catalyst writer about the Journalist in Residence program. Honestly, I thought the interview was a disaster because I was a young journalist and I was so distracted by his extensive curriculum vitae. At the end of the interview, Hampton so graciously said how much he enjoyed my questions and spending time with me. I gushed at the compliment and rode the high of the ego boost for quite some time. Little did I know at that time that those credentials would pale in comparison to the relationship we would build a year and a half later. During Block 5 of this year, I took Hampton's class, Narrative Nonfiction, which he co-taught with Mike Paternity. On top of the usual readings and daily writing exercises, each person in the class was to write a long-form story of their choice. As someone who usually is bursting with story ideas, I stumbled around campus in Colorado Springs trying to find something compelling to me. I was blank, for some reason paralyzed within a world of immense journalistic opportunity. With Hampton's careful eye, though, he pitched a story idea from one of my daily writing assignments, of all places. Soon I was on a journey to piece together the death of an up-and-coming young kayaker in 2011. Through the interviews with other world kayakers, friends, and family and personal research, I had to capture this boy's essence and try to articulate the delicate balance so many of us seek between risk and reward. Hampton advised me every step of the interview and writing process, whether instilling in me the confidence to ask uncomfortable yet essential questions during interview, or reviewing 3,000-word transcripts. Hampton went to every length to help me produce one of the proudest works in my journalism career. Such devotion to mentorship is something a curriculum vitae can never convey. Throughout this semester, as I have tried to navigate the journalism world as a professional, I have wondered if the grueling hours, low pay scale, and cutthroat environment of journalism are even worth pursuing. I could have job security and a direct impact if I used my environmental policy degree in environmental consulting or public relations. This pursuit of mine sometimes seems frivolous, as many of us are. But then I look at Hampton and I'm reminded that the choice that I make transcends a salary and comfort. Hampton shows me that the critical eye unique to journalists serves each and every one of us and cannot be wasted. It's something that I cannot waste. Without further ado, Hampton Sides.
Thank you very much, Liz. That is so nice. What a rare treat it is to be introduced by your own student. And I want to thank the meteorology department of Colorado College for ordering up this beautiful day. I want to thank Jill for her steadfast leadership and her support of the Journalist in Residence program, which I've had the honor and the privilege to lead these past 3 years. So I also want to congratulate the parents. This time last year, I was sitting where you are to celebrate the graduation of my son, McCall, sitting with my wife. And it is a major accomplishment. And your bank account is going to breathe a sigh of relief now. But mainly, I want to congratulate and warmly welcome the class of 2017. It is a huge joy and an honor to be here to wish you on your life's adventures. I've taught some of you. I've read your stuff in the college publications. I've rooted for you on the soccer fields. I've even tried my hand and tested my hand-eye coordination skills with some of you, including Liz, in the exacting sport of beer pong. Perhaps the national sport of Colorado College. And I've so thoroughly enjoyed teaching at this amazing college, this unique college that has really mastered, perfected the art, the almost forgotten art of doing one thing at a time. So I don't know about you, but I am a big fan of the sayings of Yogi Berra, the late great catcher for the New York Yankees, who later became a manager and a coach. For those of you among the students who don't know who he was, just briefly, he was famous, Yogi Berra, for uttering these pithy, off-the-cuff malapropisms, little witticisms that were seemingly contradictory, but also somehow wise. His sayings, which were known as yogi-isms, made no sense, and yet they made perfect sense. One of his famous sayings was, "The future ain't what it used to be." Or, "When you come to the fork in the road, take it." Or, "It's deja vu all over again." Or, "No one goes there anymore. It's too crowded." One sports writer has defined a yogiism as distilled bits of wisdom which, like good country songs, get to the truth in a hurry. A few others, just because it's fun, he said, "Half the lies that they've told about me aren't true." Never, ever answer an anonymous letter. This is one of my favorites. "Always go to other people's funerals. Otherwise, they won't come to yours." And this one, which perhaps carries a special resonance in our current world and the current state of things in Washington, he said, "Even Napoleon had his Watergate." I'm going to try really hard to avoid the subject of politics today, but with all that's been happening in the news, it's kind of hard to avoid it altogether. No doubt, like many of you, I've become riveted to the news this past few months, especially the past few weeks. Alternately fascinated and horrified, sometimes repulsed, sometimes entertained. In the end, I guess I have to admit that I've become addicted to the news. I need my daily fix. I need my hourly dose, my half-hourly hit. This maddening dependency on the news has affected my sleep, my disposition, my ability to focus, and probably my sanity. Well, it turns out that neuroscientists have recently identified a new hormone that is produced by the brain, a substance like dopamine or serotonin with its own networks of receptors, a hormone that, when it surges within us, leads directly to these symptoms of manic restlessness. And it is apparently reactivated each time we turn on the news or consult our iPhones. The researchers have just given this new substance an official scientific name. It's called Trumpamine. Today, I want to talk about something that, while it's perhaps related to Trumpamine, is a little bigger and a little more serious and a little more urgent. Something that, as a journalist and as a historian, is of enormous concern to me, and something that should be of enormous concern to all of us who care about the health of our democracy and the prospect for civility in our public life. What I want to talk about today is the truth. It's been said that we live in an age of truth decay, that we inhabit a post-factual world, a world of fake news and alternative facts, a world in which every story is tainted, the product of leaks and hacks, black ops and active measures, propaganda and disinformation spread by trolls, replicated by bots, amplified in echo chambers deep in the dungeons of the web. The noun truth, it seems, has morphed into something far squishier, what Stephen Colbert used to call truthiness. We see that serious journalism has been all but replaced by the infoscape, the blogosphere, the social network, the Twitterverse. Stories have become merely content. News organizations have become merely platforms. The long narrative has been pecked to death by tiny news feeds that crawl across the bottom of the screen. We see that the democratization of information, combined with the shrinking of our attention spans and our fast twitching fingers, has led to a Tower of Babel that threatens to make all of us not only unintelligible to each other, but also sometimes insufferable. Last year, the Oxford English Dictionary proclaimed post-truth to be the word of the year for 2016. Post-truth, adjective, relating to or denoting circumstances in which objective facts are less influential in shaping public opinion than appeals to emotion and personal belief. Some have said that not only is truth under siege, but also the standards by which we determine it. It's the problem at the root of our crises in journalism and in politics, but it also speaks to something deeper, something perhaps existential. Ultimately, it works its way down to the level of epistemology. What do we know? How do we know what we know? Who did the fact-checking? How does your truth compete with my truth, and how does it make me feel? Someone who's written brilliantly and thought deeply about this subject is University of Connecticut philosopher and author Michael P. Lynch, who is the author of the book, The Internet of Us. Lynch writes, without a common background of standards against which we measure what counts as reliable information or a reliable method of inquiry and what doesn't, we won't be able to agree on the facts, let alone on values. Indeed, this is precisely the situation we seem to be headed toward in the United States. This syndrome was acutely on display in the recent election, but it's a phenomenon that took years and even decades to come about. The real problem, I think, is not that there's no such thing as truth anymore, but rather that there are multiplicities of truth, multiplexes of reality. We are drowned in so much information, swamped by such oceans of data that we can't process it all. The idea of shared facts, facts that we can all pretty much agree on and trust, seems to have gone the way of the great CBS anchorman, Walter Cronkite, who used to sign off every night with the famous tagline, and that's the way it is. Who could get away with that today? Today, there is no it, and there is no is. Instead, the world has become minutely fractured. There are CNN facts and Fox facts, blue facts and red facts, Huffington facts and Breitbart facts, climate change believer facts and climate change denier facts. We select the wavelength of truth that suits us, and we park our sensibilities there, marinating our minds in sauces that we think we already like. We create bubbles of information, silos of opinion, and we tune out all that is extraneous or disagreeable. And increasingly, it seems that we simply can get away with denying facts that are inconvenient to our chosen world. We just blot them out as though they never happened, as though they don't exist. The other problem that's led to this phenomenon of truth decay, of course, is the incredible speed and ease with which information travels today. Never in the history of the world has so much knowledge been so instantaneously available at our fingertips and for free. Yet, ironically, never before have we been so disdainful of facts. Because they are so easy to come by, they are no longer precious. What we need, why do we need to be smart when we have smartphones? Why do we need to know when we can Google know? But if information travels fast and furious, so of course does misinformation. Errors and innuendos, hoaxes and wholesale fictions. Winston Churchill said that a lie gets halfway around the world before the truth has a chance to get its pants on. Today, a lie circumnavigates the globe before we can even locate our pants. We've seen the rise of fake news, not only false stories, but whole websites that are dedicated expressly designed to spread those lies. The massive chemical disaster that ISIS recently orchestrated in St. Mary Parish, Louisiana, didn't happen. Remember that horrible terrorist attack recently in Sweden? Remember that horrible massacre in Bowling Green? The real problem with this sort of story is not the falsehood itself, but the subtle ways in which it begins to erode the foundations of truth itself. According to the authors of a recent Rand Corporation study on truth decay, the real goal of fake news is, quote, not to make people believe the lie, it is to make them doubt all news. The chess genius Garry Kasparov said it even better. He said, the point of modern propaganda isn't only to misinform or push an agenda. It is to exhaust your critical thinking. It is to annihilate truth. Some writers have begun to postulate that the constant and compulsive use of the internet and its related devices has changed the way we think, altered our processes of cognition, possibly even changed the way the very wiring in our brains fire. While that may be far-fetched, I think it's safe to say that it has caused many of us to be more distracted, more disjointed, and more restless in our hot pursuit of information. We go faster and farther, but we don't necessarily go deeper. We know more, but we don't understand. Nicholas Carr, in his acclaimed book about this phenomenon, The Shallows, warns that our over-reliance on the internet has caused us, in effect, to outsource human intelligence and outsource it to distant machines and algorithms. We've become more facile at gathering facts while seldom grasping the deeper meanings of very complicated and complex ideas. Carr, who like most of us uses the internet like 100 times a day, confesses that he thinks that it is, quote, chipping away at my capacity for concentration and contemplation. My mind now expects to take in information the way the net distributes it, in a swiftly moving stream of particles. Once I was a scuba diver in the sea of words. Now I zip along the surface like a guy on a jet ski. In The Shallows, Carr talks about a kind of observational experiment that the great author Nathaniel Hawthorne undertook one morning in Concord, Massachusetts in the summer of 1844. He went out to a place called Sleepy Hollow, not far from his house. He sat down in the grass, and then he took copious notes on everything he saw and heard and felt and smelled around him. In a sense, Hawthorne was being a kind of investigative journalist of the pastoral, documenting every twisting leaf, every squirrel and bird, the call of farmers working in the distant fields, the ebb and flow of all the quiet stirrings. He was conducting a romantic and mildly radical experiment. Mind you, this was well before his colleague, Henry David Thoreau, wrote Walden Pond. In that rustic clearing at Sleepy Hollow, Hawthorne fell into a kind of rapturous reverie, a spell. But then, all at once, he was startled by the shrill sound of something so completely at odds with the world he was describing, a newly invented machine invading the garden. It was a train, chuffing through the countryside, a technology so completely disruptive that it changed everything. Hawthorne writes, "But hark, there is the whistle of the locomotive, the long shriek, harsh above all other harshness. For the space of a mile cannot mollify it into harmony. It tells a story of busy men, citizens from the hot street, who have come to spend a day in a country village, men of business, in short, of all unquietness, and no wonder that it gives such a startling shriek, since it brings the noisy world into the midst of our slumberous peace." Carr believes that the internet is akin to that locomotive, that machine in the garden. It is an invention that we must be grateful for. There is nothing like it in the history of the planet, bringing the entire world, or at least a digital approximation of it, right into our lives. But it is a gift that we should be extremely wary of. This loud, brash interloper that, if we're not careful, can drag all of us out of our sleepy hollows forever, whether we like it or not. So, are we really living in a post-truth society? Are we really living in a world of alternative facts? Are all the clocks striking 13? Is Trumpamine really coursing through our veins? Is this the world today? And if it is the world of today, how do we navigate it? What do we do with it? And what advice do I have for you who are about to embark upon it? My first piece of advice is please, 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 do not give up on the truth. It may be taking a beating right now, but it is still alive and well, and it will never go out of style. Truth may not be a thing that we can always absolutely, objectively prove, but it is a thing we can aspire to, a thing that we must aspire to. In our journalism, in our government, in our courts, in our businesses, in our personal lives, and in our very souls. I've built my life and my livelihood on chasing the truth and trying to get the facts right. I haven't always succeeded. Sometimes I've failed completely, but I've always found it a noble and eminently worthy cause. Second thing I would say is trust your instincts to get at the truth. That's what the critical thinking that comes with a liberal arts education is all about. You've spent the last 4 years honing your skills of judgment and discernment, learning to weigh the evidence and question everything. You've spent the last 4 years assessing and observing and listening with an open but also skeptical mind, developing, as Wordsworth once put it, a heart that watches and receives. Those critical skills may not seem directly marketable to you right now, but you will find that they put you in very good stead and put you on very solid ground as you go through life. And they are skills that have never been more important to our society. Another thing I would say is nil desperandum. Do not despair. This trend of truth decay, I firmly believe, is in many ways a temporary phase. It is a tear in our social fabric caused by the many far-ranging dislocations that are brought on in turn by the bewildering advent of worldwide electronic interconnectivity and the cacophony of all our little devices. From the standpoint of human evolution, this is all still so new to us, and we're just beginning to figure it out. We're like infants playing with strange new toys. Some of these toys are extremely cool, of course, and helpful. Some of them are often simultaneously very dangerous, rather like the poisonous berries that our hunter-gatherer ancestors learned not to eat a long time ago. Some of our inventions in the guise of easy, fast communication are actually retarding our ability to say anything eloquent or meaningful. They are distorting our sense of reality and creating a toxic environment for us all. But I believe that we will find a way to ameliorate the most harmful effects of our new devices and technologies. As a journalist, I'm a zealot for the First Amendment. And so I'm not talking about censorship here, but on the other hand, I would be all for a constitutional amendment preventing any sitting U.S. president from having a Twitter account. It's an absurd and I think deeply dangerous idea to think that matters of statecraft can be conducted in 140 characters. And another thing, while we're on the subject of those toys, whatever you do, wherever you go, I want to encourage you to seek out an authentic experience. There's far too much secondary living, virtual living, simulated living going on these days. As we've been discussing, too often life comes to us mediated through earbuds and screens and viewfinders. Now, I don't mean to sound like a Luddite. This is not remotely my point. You're coming of age in a fascinating and truly revolutionary era of technological innovation that has nearly limitless possibilities. There's no retreating from the digital age. But don't let the gadgets distract you from the true pulse of life. My advice to you is whatever you do, wherever you go, seek out something gritty and challenging and real. Experience real love and real pain in real places with real people face to face, heart to heart. Your life will be happier and richer in direct proportion to its authenticity. And so, every now and then, with some regularity, unplug. You've heard it 1,000 times, but it's true. Whether it's 1 hour a day, or 1 day a week, or 1 week a year, I believe that the best way to prevent truth decay is to seek truth outside of our echo chambers of instantaneous communication. Tune out, shut up, sign off, power down. Or better yet, escape to the mountains. Get yourself on a trout stream. Be a ski bum for a while. Go off grid. Find your church. Quit your machines and return to the garden. Living at the edge of these mountains, here at a school that seems to take every possible advantage of the great landscapes of the West, this is something most of you already know, deep in your bones, that the nature of truth can often best be found in the truth of nature. For wilderness doesn't lie, and it has much to teach. To me, it's a source of great comfort to be swallowed up in places that remind us that we, Homo not so sapiens, and all of our inventions are mere spore specks in the record of time. It's one of life's great paradoxes. Nothing makes us feel grander than to feel small. And nothing makes us wiser than to know that we know nothing at all. This, I think, is what Wordsworth was referring to in his great poem, The Tables Turned, when he said, "Sweet is the lore which nature brings. Our meddling intellect misshapes the beauteous forms of things. We murder to dissect. Enough of science and of art. Close up those barren leaves. Come forth and bring with you a heart that watches and receives." To the class of 2017, be well and stay true. I wish you happiness and fulfillment on your life's journey, wherever it may lead. I hope you will enjoy every twist and every turn. But just remember, when you come to the fork in the road, take it. Thank you.
President Tiefenthaler, faculty, trustees, and the class of 2017. I had the good fortune to first meet Hampton Sides more than 5 years ago when he was on campus getting his son McCall settled. It was also the day after I put an axe through my foot at the Baca campus. I was giving a welcoming lecture to freshmen, and the truth is that the details are somewhat murky. He told me he was interested in doing some teaching at the college. At least I think that's what he said. Afterwards, when the painkillers wore off, had I not been in possession of his card, I would have regarded the entire exchange as a Hampton Sides hallucination. You've already heard the details of his extraordinary career enumerated. He's the author of In the Kingdom of Ice, Ghost Soldiers, Blood and Thunder, and other best-selling works of narrative history and literary nonfiction. He's editor-at-large of Outside and has twice been named a finalist for the National Magazine Awards in feature writing. As Colorado College's inaugural journalist in residence, his impact on our campus and on the wider Colorado Springs community has been immense. In addition to teaching courses that have left an indelible mark on our students, Hampton has worked tirelessly and with unflappable, unstinting good humor to bring speakers and block visitors to campus who underscore the fact that journalism, which is compelling and thoughtful, informed and ethical, is as crucial today as it has ever been. Madam President, I am thrilled to present my colleague, celebrated writer, and good friend, Hampton Sides, for the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa.
By action of a joint committee of faculty and trustees, and by virtue of the authority vested in me, I confer upon you, Hampton Sides, the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, and admit you to all rights and responsibilities pertaining to this degree. As a token of this honor, I ask that you be vested with the hood appropriate to the degree, and I present you with this diploma.
It is my pleasure to be standing here next to Dr. Brenda Bass, who's been a mentor for many women and men in science. Dr. Bass's pioneering work on double-stranded RNA containing inosine has led to many new directions of research in RNA and was recognized by National Institutes of Health by the Pioneer Award. Dr. Bass has been a HHMI professor and was nominated to the National Academies of Sciences in 2015, the preeminent scientific organization in the country. One of few women. We need more. Dr. Bass's work on RNA in Dr. Tom Cech's laboratory at the University of Colorado Boulder was part of the Nobel Prize-winning work that started her research career in the rapidly expanding field of RNA. She has worked tirelessly since her graduation from the college in 1977. She remembers the block breaks. She remembers climbing. But more than that, she remembers fondly the classes with Dr. Harold Jones, late Dr. Dick Tabor, late Dr. Mary Alice Hamilton, along with Dr. Owen Kramer and Dr. Joe Pickle. And I know some of you are in the audience. I'm delighted to recognize preeminent RNA biochemist and distinguished professor from the University of Utah School of Medicine, Dr. Brenda Bass, as she receives an honorary degree from Colorado College this morning. Dr. Brenda Bass.
By action of a joint committee of faculty and trustees, and by the virtue of the authority vested in me, I confer upon you, Brenda Bass, the degree of Doctor of Science, honoris causa, and admit you to all rights and responsibilities pertaining to this degree. As a token of this honor, I ask that you be vested with the hood appropriate to the degree, and I present you with this diploma. Congratulations.
Esteemed to be soon graduates of Colorado College, family, friends, faculty, and staff, it's my honor and privilege to recognize today David Van D. Skilling to be presented an honorary degree recipient. 62 years ago, Van was sitting where you're sitting right now, probably thinking some of the same thoughts that you're having right now. Although none of us will know exactly what he was thinking, if I were to venture a guess, I don't think it was likely on the vision of his future. I don't think he was thinking of becoming a titan of American business or a philanthropic pioneer. I'd venture a guess, I think he was thinking about that cute little freshman, B.J. Cheney, who eventually married him from the class of '58 and is here with us today. Quite frankly, if I had to venture a second guess, I'd say Van's probably thinking about it right now. The first thing I have come to know about Van is he cares more about the people around him than anyone that I've ever known. When you talk to Van, he makes you feel like the most important person in the world because at that moment, to him, you are. When I started teaching at CC, one of my first classes was when I co-taught with Van. At the time, I didn't fully appreciate what an amazing opportunity that had befallen me. I was told we had a program of visiting executives that co-taught with us in some of our business courses, and Van was a retired CEO who'd be co-teaching with me. At first, I thought I'd be the professor, he'd add the color and spice. Let me tell you, did I have that backwards? Only after I did a bit of research did I realize that not only was Van a retired CEO, but rather he retired as the founding CEO of Experian, one of the most influential consumer data companies in American history. Van Skilling brought us into an age of credit scores and credit reports, turning creditworthiness into a science, and in doing so, created a world where one's behavioral choices mattered far more than one's skin color, religion, or gender. Van helped level the playing field for consumer financing, and for that, we should all be very grateful. Van was wonderful in class. He prepped for class more than any professor I'd ever known. He taught from the depths of his soul. He loved the students and they loved him. But in 2013, after 21 years of teaching at CC, he announced it was time to retire. Very sad to hear the news, I asked Van how he knew this was the right time. After all, he was amazing in the classroom and added so much value. He told me, "Jim, I left Experian before I wanted to, but I knew it was time." When I chaired the Board of Trustees here at CC, I stepped down before I wanted to, but I knew it was time. And now, although I really don't want to stop teaching, I know it's time. This was the second major life lesson I learned from Van. Put your ego aside and do what's right, regardless of your desires. For those in the audience, if you haven't already, I encourage you to turn your programs to page 5 and read Van's bio. You'll see he's led a life dedicated to enriching those around him. Van, you have given so much to so many. Thank you to all of us who you've taught and mentored. Madam President, David Van D. Skilling has indisputably embodied a life of service to others, has become an exemplar to the creativity and innovative spirit of CC, and most importantly, the manifestation of what we hope for each and every one of our graduates. Do well while doing good. Thus, it's my humble privilege to present David Van D. Skilling, one of CC's most deserving business and philanthropic pioneers, for the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa. Thank you.
By action of a joint committee of faculty and trustees, and by virtue of the authority vested in me, I confer upon you, Van Skilling, the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, and admit you to all rights and responsibilities pertaining to that degree. As a token of this honor, I ask that you be hooded with the hood appropriate to the degree, and I present you with this diploma. At commencement, we not only celebrate our graduates, but also the contributions of our faculty. This year, 5 faculty members are retiring and have been granted emeritus status by the Board of Trustees in recognition of their dedicated service to Colorado College. Please stand as I read your names. Professor Emeritus of Chemistry, Nate Bauer, 40 years of service. Professor Emeritus of Political Science, Tom Cronin, 26 years of service. Professor Emeritus of English, John Simons, 46 years of service. Professor Emeritus of Mathematics, Fred Tinsley, 41 years of service. And Professor Emeritus of Physics, Barbara Witten, 30 years of service. Please join me in thanking these dedicated faculty for all they have done for Colorado College and for our students. It's now my pleasure to acknowledge 2 couples who were inducted into the William Jackson Palmer Society earlier this weekend, a recognition that pays tribute to those whose lifetime giving to the college exceeds $1 million. As is our tradition, the newest members' names are engraved on the base of the Earl flagpole in front of Cutler Hall. Here with us today are Ian Griffiths, class of 1985, and Susan Deeds Griffiths, class of 1988, and Nancy Corrigan Woodrow, class of 1968, and her husband Ken Woodrow, parents of Casey, class of 2011. Please join me in thanking them for their commitment and support to the college, our graduates, and future generations of CC students. Colorado College awards the Master of Arts in Teaching to teachers who have spent the last few summers in our Experienced Teacher program and to recent college graduates who have dedicated the past 14 months to the fifth-year program. Colorado College is proud of its longstanding commitment to providing programs for teachers in our community, and we're proud of these teacher leaders who will guide the next generation of students. To our graduating MAT students, on behalf of the college and the faculty, we offer congratulations and support for your important work.
Will the candidates for the degree Master of Arts in Teaching please stand? Madam President, I have the honor of presenting the candidates for the degree of Master of Arts in Teaching.
By action of the faculty, the Board of Trustees concurring, and by virtue of the authority vested in me, I confer upon you the degree Master of Arts in Teaching and admit you to all rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining to this degree. As a token of your accomplishments, I present your diploma and ask that you be vested with a hood appropriate to your degree.
Will the candidates please present themselves to receive their diplomas? Cassandra Jo Almeida. Heidi Rain Arbery. Elizabeth Krellen. Elizabeth Ann Crow. Elizabeth Dekanick. Nancy Michelle Godwin. Sarah Genevieve Jacobs. Jennifer Ann Kane. Amber Noel Ortiz. Susie Ricker. Siobhan Madeline Ross. Mary V. Schrack. Erica Hannah Singer. Alice Elizabeth Stoneback. Those who are to receive the degree Master of Arts in Teaching in Absentia are listed in the commencement program. Here we go. Will the candidates for the degree Bachelor of Arts please stand? Madam President, I have the honor to present the candidates for the degree Bachelor of Arts.
By action of the faculty, the Board of Trustees concurring, and by virtue of the authority vested in me, I confer upon you the degree Bachelor of Arts and admit you to all rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining to this degree. As a token of your accomplishments, I present your diploma.
Will the candidates please present themselves to receive their diplomas? Mays Alalami, President cum laude. Nia Abram. Livia Ann Abels. Aiden Evan Akisto. Jacqueline Julie Adler. Robbie Adler. Hani Al Moana. Candelaria Alcott. Tierre Linnell Allen. Andrew Allison Godfrey. Elena Altman. Zachary Amen. Nathan Douglas Anderson. Jaslyn Andrews cum laude. Sharon Awaj cum laude. Brooke Arnett Becker. Eliza Ashley. Jessica Elizabeth Ast. Ellen Hammond Atkinson, magna cum laude. Philip Clarence Babbitt. William Alexander Baird. Elizabeth Reese Baker, cum laude. Lydia Deborah Ballantyne. Corey Madeline Lennox Barron, summa cum laude. Hannah Elizabeth Bouts, summa cum laude. Isaac Van Sant Becker. McKenna Elizabeth O'Donoghue Becker. Nanaba Sosi Begay. Derek Ryan Bell. Allison G. June Bemis, cum laude. Jack Joseph Benham. Elizabeth M. Benjamin. Georgia McCrae Birmingham. Ryan Bing. Christian Elliott Bladen. Clara Aya Blanco. Terrell Catherine Bly, magna cum laude. Lugafru Bonda, magna cum laude. John James John Bosco Bora. Jack Borthwick. Christina Bowman. Carolyn Mallory Boyd. Karina Nichelle Boyd. Brooke Mangan Boyle, cum laude. Emma Zareen Brochtenbach. T.J. Brannon. Eli Samuel Mazik Bresler. Annie Lee Brewster. Sarah Elizabeth Breifogel, cum laude. Eliza Wallace Brilliant. Catherine Bronson. Natalie Browning. Stephanie Bowie. Pele Marie Rebecca Bucco. Jimena Buller Machado. Warren Walter Brady Bunnell. Erin Elizabeth Burke. Carolyn Harris Burns. Sunil Butler. Madison Lene Cahill Sanitas. Amanda Ariella Khan, cum laude. Anna Kane, magna cum laude. Jeff Calhoun. Emma Rose Callan, cum laude. Eric Campbell. David Suarez Candler. Benzinger Capelin. Sophia Indigo Reardon Cap. Aurelia Roselle Carrillo. Ellie Sarah Casey, cum laude. Jennifer Brooke Chandler. Olivia Sarita Chunra Shaker, cum laude. Lonnie Chang, cum laude. Matthew Hunjin Chang. Christopher Chavez, cum laude. Yingzhou Xun. Maya Chin. Sayorn Man Anusa Chin. Scott Choi. Hong Ki Chui, magna cum laude. Gavin Drew Cobb. Graham Lewis Kaufman. Caleb James Kofsky. Clayton Nathan Cogshall. Cassandra Elizabeth Cohen. Lana Cohen. Catherine Colmia. Benjamin Coldwell, magna cum laude. Sadie Cole. Sarah Colombo. Bridget Bingham Conley. Grace Liana Ku Maraswamy. Deara Hermione Cooper. Miles Zuhair Cooper. Ezra Maxwell Cooper Smith, cum laude. Forrest Patrick Corcoran. Theodore Stockneck Corin III. Chauncey Crail, cum laude. Allison Crimmins. Dana Helene Cronin. Julian Dahl. Alicia Nicole Danielson, magna cum laude. Austin Davey, cum laude. Marin Day, cum laude. Amelia Lynn Delgado Heinz. Aiden Montgomery Dempsey. Danielle Lee Devers. Leah D. Filippo. Caitlin Gloria DeMarco, cum laude. Leslie Nicole Dinkin. James Ryan Deneen. Emily Ann Doderer, cum laude. Ghislaine Dogon. Anastasia Vladislavovna Doktorova. Armand Dominguez. Quintus L. Drennan IV. John Mark Duga. Serena Lee Dunbar. Alexander Brett Duncan. Aubrey Spencer Durand. Zach Eberhardt, cum laude. Lauren Eckhart. Nicholas Edward Edel. Clay Winton Edwards. Clay Elliott. Susanna McGregor Ellis. Cole M. Hoff. Vivian Engen. Philip Carol Eng. Catherine Lindsay Erb. Nicholas Early. Hannah Louise Deborah Ewell. Robin Fassett Carmen. Isabel Expedite Pierce Fev. Arden Feldman, magna cum laude. Milo Chow Philip. Joel Robinson Fisher Katz, cum laude. Perry James Fitz. Hannah Neal Fleming. Alexander Paul Flugo, cum laude. Mariko Hinton Fakey, cum laude. Liz Forster. Olivia Marie Foster. Sophia Silver Franklin. Lydia Freilich. Caitlin Fry. Joseph Friedland. Laura Friedley, magna cum laude. Mary Elizabeth Friedman. Emily Frogen. Nolan Fromm, cum laude. Jade Pearl Frost. Alexia Gagliardi. Emily Galenbeck. Madeline Garcia. Nicholas Garcia Vicente. Benjamin Richard Garanther. Dominic Harris Gattuso, cum laude. Grace Glidden Gerashodi. Lucas Gunnar Gertis. Mitra Elena Goffary. Zoe Rebecca Gibson. Ellen Ann Gilbertson, magna cum laude. Patrick Joseph Glastonbury, magna cum laude. Hannah Elizabeth Glosser. Cordelia Mary Virginia Glynn Davidson. Timothy Gonzalez Crane. Abby Gore. Dana Joy Gornick. Jonna Lee Gottlieb, cum laude. Andreas Graham. Christopher Pickett Graves. Michael Philip Greenberger. Tessa Mackenzie Greer. Haley Marie Griffiths. Colin Ladd Griffith. William Benjamin Grossman. Tess Anna Grunberg, magna cum laude. Catherine Selena Guerrero. Grace Jacqueline Gurian. Catherine Summers Castillo. Jason Robert Gutierrez. Annie Hale. Bradley John Hale. Samuel V. Hale. Catherine Hamamoto. Connor Thomas Haney. Matthew Hansen. Annika Hansen. Jenna May Hansen. Barbara Hansalova, magna cum laude. Paige Caroline Harari. Gareth Carlton Hardwick. Claudia Drew Harrison. Morgan Dean Harrison. John Hartman, cum laude. Marcel Havasi. Ian Kaiser Hay. Christian Heil. Tasha Heilwall. Regina Marie Dominique Reyes Henares. Shanice Claire Hendricks. Brian Hang. Juliana Victoria Hernandez. Casey Hofford. Benjamin Holland. Zoe Holland. William Neer Hollow. Zachary David Holman. Anna Eleanor Holt. Abigail Sullivan Holtz. Claire Rose Straight Holtzman. Nicole Marguerite Holzman. Rafi Howe. Chase Hinchman Howell. Liana Hudson. Jillian Hyde. Linnea Ingram. Emilia Walker Izquierdo. Catherine Rogers Jacaruso. Lyric Sierra Jackson. Sora Maria Jackson Bartelmas. Chandler Jacobson cum laude. Eliza Grace Jacobson. Erica Claire Jimison. Maya Rebecca Jamner. Xi Jing. Dylan Cooper Johnson. Elizabeth Martha Johnson. Victoria Johnson. Jacob Lee Hyman Jones. Patrick Michael Journey cum laude. Daniel John Caneb. Annika Adams Castetter magna cum laude. Catherine Lee Kaufman. Emily Goodhart Couts. Emma McDaniel Kearney. Casey Keegan magna cum laude. Thomas Craig Keene Jr. cum laude. Shalling Niles Keller. Desmond Francis Kelly. Daniel Keogh cum laude. Emma Maria Basson Capus. Benjamin Kern. Nianta Khatri. Adeline Koo. Andrew Kervin Kwame, cum laude. Eileen Kittrick. Angela May Yi Kong. Jarrett Thomas Kong. Eric Harrison Connor. Frida Cryer, cum laude. Eric Peter Cuby. Caden Matthew Kunkel, magna cum laude. Ryan Kwan. JC Helene Lamana. Junior Larea. Jacob C. Lauer. Emily Lele Lauer. Julia Carolyn Lozon, magna cum laude. Ethan Benjamin Lavin. Hyunsa Curl Lee. Madeline Lee. Sally Sunyan Lee. Mitchell Leong. Katie Lair. Chuyi Lee Sydney. Ying Shui Lee. Christopher Lincoln. Leah Michelle Lindsay cum laude. Alec Lockett. Haley Callison Lowenstein. Cora June Lubchenko cum laude. Aaron O'Hearn Luby. Emily Huntington Lucas. Austin Lucondi. William Joseph Lundberg. Nina Campbell Lundstrom. Tuan Lung. Angelina Lucille Lutz, magna cum laude. Hannah Lyons. Yifei Ma. Caden McKenzie. Abram Wolf Mamet. Nate Mankovich, magna cum laude. Celestine Mano. Max Aaron Margolin. Lucy Marshall, cum laude. Alexander Jack Marshland. Rebecca Elizabeth Matheson, cum laude. Sachin Chandra Mather. Jacolia Machishevitz. Christopher Darby Maves. John Nicholas McCormick. John Connor McHugh. Eva McKenzie, magna cum laude. Jinmei Tao McMahon, cum laude. Susanna May McMurtry. Amelia Mead, cum laude. David Malone. Stephanie Nicole Messick. Andrew Stevenson Meyer. Catherine Miller, cum laude. Lindsay Bryant Miller, magna cum laude. Madigan Guggenheim Miller. Alexi Erica Geiger Milliken, magna cum laude. Zoe Starr Moffett, magna cum laude. Henry Molnar. Leandro Montes Ruiz, magna cum laude. Grace Elizabeth Montesano. Serenity Mora. Emiliano Morales. Rydell Moreno Armas. Eliza Mott. Morgan Mulhern. Jennifer Lee Murray. Nina Kilvert Murray. Katasha Nail De Silva. Catherine Nelson. Hannah Spencer Neustadt. Julian Henry Nyland, cum laude. Ina Sophie Niemeyer. Raina Nolan. Griffin Lawrence Neuer. Emilio Alfonso Nunez Garcia. Alexandria Yoshebed Nunn, cum laude. Jacqueline Ann O'Keefe, cum laude. Alex Irvin O'Neill. Ian Oakes. Andrew Obernesser, cum laude. Daniel Oldendorf. Madeline Rose Onofrio. Andy Gabriel Orozco Rivas. Colleen Cameron Orr. John Jamal. Allison Joe Pacheco. Jake Hamilton Hertberg Perrin. Alec Lee Perry. Charles Patrick Pushuko. Alejandro Perez Hobreaker. Madison Rose Perlick. Stephen William Peter Silge, cum laude. Truk Pham. Zoe Ami Parat. Sabrina Grace Pearsall. Madeline Mora Polari. Callie Place, cum laude. Molly Podmore. Madeline Louise Palazzi. Bethany Catlia Porton. Phoebe Porter. Anna Brat Prasai, magna cum laude. Bronwyn Elizabeth Prater. Jiao Wen Chi, cum laude. Hannah Delaney Quick. Maria Carlson Quinn. Ruth Rabinovich. Gabriel Rada. Jane Beverly Kendall Radicke. Isaac Brownlee Radner, cum laude. James Nathaniel Rajasingh. Sophie Ramirez. Sophia Rasmussen. Amy Lugere Ron, cum laude. Max Rawson. Nitika Chukuri Reddy. Connor Reese. Sophie Evelyn Register, magna cum laude. James Reynolds. Timothy Reynolds. Nina Reggio. Thomas Andres Riley. Natasha Renee Riveron, cum laude. Thomas Mitchell Roberts, magna cum laude. Karina Rodriguez Jaimes, cum laude. Julia Rogers. Annalise Rohane. Alexander Roos. Sam Rothstein. Jordan Samuel Rudman, cum laude. James Rushford. Aiden Russell. Charles Morgan Russell. Jared Rutledge, magna cum laude. Jake Sabetta. Samantha Sage Sacamano. Connor Sample. Catherine Sanford. Andrew Sanger. Sasha Latia Sapp. Matt Saraceno. Alex Sarche, magna cum laude. William Sardinsky. Stuart Crane Saris. Gabriel Thomas Sashihara. Abigail Carlson Sawabini. Gregory Sales. Andrew Sherfius, cum laude. Ian James Scobie. Dylan Sen. Derek Michael Schatzer. Che Espinoza Sheehan. Caitlin Schuyler Sherbert. Nomi Marie Sherman. Kelly Sherwood. Juno Shun. Natalie Armitage Shishido. Aiden Shumway. Esra Siddiq. Eugenie Rose Siegel. Bennett Richard Silverman. John Sylvester. Ryan Sin. Oliver Whitlock Skelly. Greg Smith. Haley Elise Rose Smith. Emiko Smuckler. Margaret Ferguson Sport. Spencer Spots. Sherman Springer. Anna Squires, magna cum laude. Malcolm Harris St. John. Ebony Giovanna Statham. Michaela Aragon Sterling, cum laude. Kaylee Renee Stiles, cum laude. Erin Ann Sugarman. Injiri Akoswa Sami. Jean Rebecca Sung. Eleanor Jane Swanson. Marcus C. Swanson. Jesse Allen Swedlin. Carolina Ada Szymańska. Caitlin Marie Tabor, cum laude. Sarah Leanne Tafoya. Nicole Tan Jun Yi, cum laude. Mary Catherine Tausig. Connor Hughes Terhune. Julia Marie Turman. Charles Owens Theobald, cum laude. Lydia Jane Tobin. David Isaac Berger Tedisco. Kimberly Town. Madeline Travis, magna cum laude. David Trevithick. Siddharth Tripathi, cum laude. Drew Kindred Turley. Margaret Marie Turner. Anne Tutrone. Benjamin Tweedy. Rebecca Twinney, magna cum laude. Corbin Ukasik. Amy Elizabeth Valencia. Naomi Vanderland. Claire Baker Vernon. Andrea Villanueva. Catherine Villanueva. Sage Vogt. Natalie Christine Wade. Lukey George Walden. Martha Jane Walker. Whitney Nevins Walker. Soren Michael Nathaniel Blaze Walls, summa cum laude. Audrey Wang. Coco Kashin Wang, cum laude. Yushi Wang. Oliver Mitsuhashi Ward. Elizabeth Shepard Waterman. Rebecca Watson. Edward Saltonstall Weeks. Sichi Wei. Stephen Tankus Weinberger. Monica Nell Hurley Weinling. Ann McDuffie Wells. Leah Danielle Wessler. Lona Maria Whitney. John Williams. Turner Stanilan Williams. Maya Williamson. Patricia Margaret Williamson. Corey David Wilson. Ingrid Kristen Wilt, magna cum laude. Molly Rose Woodencheck. Russell Wolf. Julia Wood. Christina Worley. Jessica Raquel Wright. Taylor Cutler Wright, summa cum laude. Jenna Mong Hoi Wu. Wu Chi-ching. Christian Scott Wolf. Hao Tian Xu. Winston Shu, magna cum laude. Kayla Rose Yamada. Xiaoming Young. Baran Yildiran. Dennis Zong. Shishen Zhang. Chuyao Zhu. Sally Zimmerman, cum laude. And Avukile Zoya. Those who are to receive the degree Bachelor of Arts in Absentia are listed in the commencement program. Madam President, at this time, Colorado College Student Trustee Mays Alalami will come forward to lead the tassel ceremony.
Us because we can't.
Frederick Buechner said, "Here is the world. Terrible and beautiful things will happen." This world does not need more college graduates. It needs leaders. People who are willing to speak up when things aren't right, when injustices abound. People who open their hearts and lives to embrace the diverse beauty of this world, who are always looking for ways to include all at the table of life. This world does not need more people who ask themselves, what will I be? What job will I land? What income will I earn? It needs people who will ask, who will I be? How will I be? How will I show up when terrible things happen? How will I show up in the midst of injustice? How will I look beyond the terrible to find the beauty? How will I bring beauty to this world? Be those people. Allow me to introduce this world to you. This is not your parents' world. It's up to you to make sure it's not your children's world. Just as it is up to each generation to make the world more just, more loving, more peaceful. This is your greatest task as you go forth. This world does not need more college graduates, but it needs you. May you find within you the grace, the strength, the courage, and the joy to live fully into your growing vision of what this world, with all of its terror and beauty, can be. Go in peace.
Hey.